Kelsey, want to do roll call?
Yes. Mr. Torpy is not here today. Mr. Glassner?
Yes, here.
Ms. Perez?
Present.
Mr. Day?
Present.
Mr. Locklear?
Present.
Thank you, Kelsey. All right, the first item is the acknowledgement of board procedures and policies. Is that was, do we have that in our packet or that, okay, so that is, it is in the packet. Is this something we make a motion or we just all say we acknowledge?
It, yeah.
Okay, I acknowledge it. Anyone else on the board, do you acknowledge it?
We'll all swear to
I
it.
acknowledge,
Okay, all acknowledge the board procedures and policies. So then we'll move on to the next item, which is the acknowledgement of the Sustainability Committee guidelines, procedures, rules, and policies. And I did see that, I acknowledge it.
I acknowledge it.
Likewise.
Okay, here so acknowledged by all. The next item is approval of the January 4th, 2023 meeting minutes. Everyone had a chance to look those over. They are in the packet.
Yep.
So there's 3 sets of minutes on the same list.
Okay. I'll
But
move
you should have
approval.
2 in your packet.
Okay. I don't know that I can second it because I wasn't part of the committee then.
Well, I second then.
Okay.
Can I second? I can, right?
Yeah, I guess we can.
And,
We won't object.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to the approval of the February 1st, 2023 meeting minutes, which are also in the packet.
I'll move approval of those.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
This is a real short one.
Yeah, so I noticed that. And then moving on to the approval of the March 1st, 2023 meeting minutes.
I'll move approval.
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Okay.
All right,
Good enough.
thank you. Then we will move on then to staff reports.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We have quite a few things that I would like to just let you guys know about today. So sea turtle nesting season has started. It started on March 1st. So I just wanted to remind everybody here and anybody who's watching at home or in the audience to make sure that we have all the necessary light turned off, close your blinds when it gets dark, and turn off any of those floodlights or any light that's visible from the beach should be turned off or blocked with blinds or some other type of shield. It's a good idea to go out and check your property after it's dark just to see if there's any lights you don't know about that are reflecting on the building and causing those problematic lights for sea turtles. The city has been putting out postings on Facebook and CVNN throughout the last week and will continue to do so throughout sea turtle season about sea turtle etiquette on our beaches as well as lighting. And we're sending out courtesy reminder letters to all properties who were identified to have some type of lighting violation last year during our nesting survey or our lighting survey. And this year we'll complete 3 additional nighttime lighting surveys and send out letters as well so we can get the issues addressed. Any questions on that? That was a lot.
Do you know when the next lighting survey is going to be completed?
I can't disclose the exact date right now, but it'll be sometime the next 2 months. There'll be 3 done between now and October.
And then any violations from those, will those be addressed this season or will it be, okay?
Yes, so they'll be addressed sooner than the ones last time. We have a process now, so hopefully those letters will be sent out no more.
How big are these violations?
So the ones right now, no one's getting fined. It's just a courtesy letter. But the actual fine will be determined by the code enforcement department.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to fine people. We would rather, correct it if it's as simple as turning off a light or switching out a bulb. But if the issues persist, that is where code enforcement action may occur.
But do I recall in the survey that was done last fall, there were somewhere close to 100 lights that were in violation essentially, so.
So by the time we parsed it all out, there's about 40 some change letters that'll be going out because some of those 96, there was properties that had multiple violations that were listed. Some of them are street lights, which we've contacted FPL about, and then some of them are properties that are outside of our current code. So if they're not within 300 feet of the dune line,
Right, that's what I was gonna ask.
yeah,
300.
but we may be making some updates if the issues, persist with these lights and they continue to cause issues and documented disorientations. We may adjust the code language.
Have they been having problems with turtles like going into the parking lots and stuff?
Yeah, so Cocoa Beach has very high numbers of sea turtle disorientations. I don't have the exact number for you, but it is way too many.
I got you.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? I'll update you guys as we continue to move forward with this. So we did the sea oat planting at Shepherd Park a couple weeks ago. We planted over about 3,000 sea oats and had about 60 volunteers attend. So we planted all of those sea oats in, what, Bob, in 45 minutes?
Well, it was a little
Or
better
an
than that, but
was quick.
probably an hour or two at the most. But yeah, we had a lot of people, and it went pretty quickly, and we got a lot of plants in the ground.
All right.
So that's what counts.
Okay, awesome. In addition to that, something very exciting that we are considering with KBB is opening a residential composting facility in Cocoa Beach. So we met with KBB to discuss and evaluate potential locations that are on city property that we may be able to agree with KBB to let them lease the land to utilize. So right now we have a working test pile in the Cocoa Beach greenhouse, which is located at the Public Works facility, to see if that is a suitable location. So we're just in the kind of testing phase right now, but this may be something that'll be becoming available to our residents very, very soon. Hopefully as soon as possible. The hope is that it'll be a free of charge service to our residents.
What would that look like? Would that be residents bringing things to a central collection place, or?
So residents who subscribe to the program will be issued a bucket, and once a week they'll have a pickup day. Someone with KBB will come pick up the bucket from their driveway and leave them a clean bucket. So each week they'll just get the bucket swapped out. Yeah, all the details aren't worked out, but we're testing it out, and it'll be a great program. The only other municipality that has this right now is West Melbourne, and KBB is also running that facility.
Will there be any biosolids composted in?
From the wastewater treatment plant. So that's what the greenhouse was for. I don't have details on that. I just know that it was not successful here.
Okay.
So right now, I don't think they're considering biosolids.
Right.
Just
West
household
Melbourne is not.
kitchen food
Okay.
waste. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll let you guys know as we progress through that also. Coming up on April 1st is the annual Trash Bash event. We're going to have 4 cleanup locations this year. So if you guys don't know, Trash Bash, KBB hosts this event every year and gets local municipalities to have as many cleanup sites as possible. So every municipality has several cleanup sites on the same day at the same time. So everybody across Brevard is picking up trash. So here in Cocoa Beach, we'll have cleanups from 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Shepherd Park, downtown Cocoa Beach, the North Thousand Islands, and also at Bicentennial Park. And we're going to be putting more information out about that soon. Bob is your site captain for North Thousand Islands.
Yeah, I think we're going to start that at 9, but that's okay.
At 9.
What do
You're
you-
going to start at 9? Okay.
What are you guys doing to the islands?
Picking up trash. There are a number of campsites and party sites out there that get pretty regularly used. So
No,
it's-
I'm aware of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
cans, bottles, the old campsites. And
I know it doesn't pertain to this, but you said something about the Constitution Bicentennial Park.
Mm-hmm.
Can this committee try to organize to where they fix that park up a little bit? Because there's now only one dock.
I understand that park is under the planning process right now.
Okay.
So I'm not the project manager, but it's in the process
I'll even do the work.
the improvements
They
are
pay for the wood.
underway.
right.
Okay.
It'll be the idea is to be a complete remodel
Yeah,
of that whole park.
Okay.
both
Yes.
Ramp Road and Bicentennial are on the program this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they just redid Ramp Road, put the whole new ramp in.
Yeah, but they're going to do the rest of the park, if I'm
Oh.
not mistaken. So,
Oh, like the bathrooms and stuff?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
The bathrooms are
That's what
underway.
I understand.
And then
Are they
they're
doing bathrooms at that one too?
at Ramp Road.
No, at Bicentennial, because right now
It may
it's
be
porta
in the
potty.
full upgrade. Like I said, I don't have all the details, but
I gotcha.
that'll be something that'll be coming before the commission. So
Okay,
keep
cool.
eyes on that.
Cool.
Yes. Okay. A couple of other things. There's a lot of things tonight. I know that there was some interest at one of the previous meetings, and I had gotten some emails from you guys about issues with water quality and possibly reaching out to the port to see if we can talk with them. So we had some commissioners interested in that as well. So we're actually going to be having someone from FIT, one of the professors, coming to talk about the pilot study that they're doing. It's about lagoon inflow research. I think I may have sent some of you guys this information that had questions, just to kind of talk about what FIT is working on doing with that pilot study, the things that are being considered, and how this might impact Cocoa Beach as a community. So Dr. Jeff Ebel will be giving a presentation to the commission at their next meeting, which is March 16th at 7 p.m. So if you guys are interested in learning more about that, definitely attend, and I'm sure Dr. Ebel will be happy to answer your questions.
Will that be in this room? Will that be in this room?
Yes, it'll be at the regular commission
So
meeting.
what about the whole blue-green algae problem we're having with it right now? The DEP has put signs now at the boat ramps, and my customers are like, why are you taking me fishing here now?
Yeah, so that's the standard protocol that DEP does. If they detect certain levels of blue-green algae, I wouldn't say we have a problem right now. They didn't put up a no-swim notice or anything like that. That's just something that they do when their water samples indicate there's
They
could
put
be a
this
blue.
up.
I know, I've seen the
Oh,
signs.
okay.
Yes,
So you should
it
not
doesn't.
swim.
So, I don't know.
I guess it.
No cyanotoxins were.
Yeah, they put it up because it could produce toxins, but no toxins were detected.
So what was the doctor's name?
Dr. Jeff Ebel,
Ebel. How do you spell Ebel? please?
EBEO, I believe.
EBLE.
EBLE.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, he's with Florida Tech. He's the one leading the
Awesome.
lagoon inflow study.
Okay.
All right, and then lastly, this is kind of an important thing for you guys, the Sustainability Award. So far we have one applicant. I have had several inquiries though, so I think people are working on those and are going to be submitting those soon.
Okay.
March 19th is the deadline. So for those of you that weren't with us when we came up with this committee will be reviewing these applications and ranking them and scoring them. And this is how the winner of the 2023 Cocoa Beach Sustainability Award will be awarded. Now, a couple of things that I wanted you guys to know is the week of March 20th, I'll be sending you all of these nominations.
Okay.
So that'll be when you guys get them, you'll get time to review them. And then if you have any additional questions for the applicants, if you guys want to clear anything up or ask for more information, you guys need to send me an email by March 29th. But I will actually be out of town on vacation.
Nice.
So send it to me, but also copy Jared Francis, and I'll send you this in an email as well.
Perfect.
So you don't forget, but I just want to make it clear now. Send it to me, copy Jared, and Jared will make sure it gets where it needs to go while I'm gone.
But as of right now, there's only one person who submitted.
Yes, but people have been calling me asking questions.
Okay.
So I think that people are working on it because they still have about 10 days, 11
Okay.
days to work on it. Yes. Okay, and then the last thing with that is at the April 5th meeting, so the next meeting that you guys have, that is where you'll rank everybody. So you'll come with your scores, and I'll send out that packet again so you guys can get familiar with that. But at that time, you should be familiar with the projects. You should have an idea of how you want to rank them. It's just to come together and have any additional discussion that's necessary. And at the end of that meeting, we'll know who, first place is.
So basically, whoever applies for this award, we just rank each person with what we believe.
Based on the criteria that the committee had come up with. So
Okay.
you'll have that criteria,
Okay.
and you'll have all of that.
Okay.
And then the award was supposed to be presented at the April 20th commission meeting. That meeting is moved to April 18th. So it'll be presented at the April 18th meeting. So a few changes, but I'll send you all of this as well.
Okay.
So April 18th, the award will be.
It's a Tuesday.
In this room.
Yeah,
And
okay.
this is all in the email you're sending.
I'll send it in the email.
Okay.
Good with emails.
Okay. Are there any questions about that? It's a lot of dates.
I'm gonna put them in my calendar.
Okay, just if you see an email come through, just make sure you read it because it might be the applications.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelsey.
Yes, thank you.
All right, then we will move on to old business, which there's nothing on the agenda for old business. So
New
then
business.
we will move on to new business. So our first item here is the fiscal year 24 sustainability budget recommendations. So we have the proposed budget in our packet.
So Jim Torpy actually sent me some comments that he wanted the committee to hear. Do you want me to read that now, Adria?
Yes, that would be helpful, thank you.
Okay, so he apologized for, not being here at this meeting. He hates to miss it. But wow, this is Jim speaking. I strongly support this proposal. The electric charging stations are surely needed, but the rooftop solar stuff is an exceptional proposal. Thanks for putting that in. And then that's basically all he said, that he wanted to, show his support for those items.
I thought those were exciting as well.
So I can give you guys a little bit of background on kind of where those came from.
Yeah, please.
You want? So these capital improvement project recommendations, these likely will be things that are in other departments' budgets. So, like solar, that's probably going to be in buildings and facilities, not necessarily in my environmental budget.
Sure.
Community EV charging, that'll probably be somewhere in public works, maybe in facilities as well, because that's a feature of the facility. The greenhouse gas emissions reduction master plan may also end up somewhere in public works. So all of these things are things that staff have talked about before. The electric EV charging stations were put into the budget last year, but they were pushed out because the funds were not available. So hoping to put them in again this year with extra support from this committee to show that maybe it's something for the commission to consider. Same thing with the rooftop solar. It's something we've been considering for probably a year now, but has not officially made it into anybody's capital improvement budget. And then the committee recommended this greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan last year, but it also was not able to be included in the budget.
How many charging stations can you put in for $12,000?
So our best estimate is for that we could probably get 2 dual head stations.
And are they charging people for that?
Probably.
Okay, I mean, it's not free.
They wouldn't be free. The
I'm
exact
getting an electric car.
the exact process for how that's going to work is not worked out yet, but people would have to pay for it.
My parts and pass won't work.
I don't think so.
Yeah, as you know, there's one in the parking garage, and that is for a fee. You do charge, and you do have to go through the.
Huh. I don't use the parking garage, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the station in the parking garage is the only charging station on a public parking area at this time.
Really?
Yeah, in the city anyway. Yeah.
Yes, in Cocoa Beach.
Cape Canaveral has at least. They have one at the library. They have one at the at their park, Manatee Preserve. And I think there's a third one. I'm not sure. Yeah, there is. There are a couple at City Hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're used. They get used pretty regularly.
Kelsey, I have a question about the Habitat Protection and Restoration budget item. I know we had asked for that number last year, and so that project was not done. Has it gotten increasingly worse, or I'm just wondering about the condition of that? So if this is not approved this year, what are the repercussions there?
So with the dunes, the invasive plants are always going to get worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
So if we let them continue to go, they're going to grow into other native planting areas. They're honestly not the best at stabilizing the beach. When you think about Brazilian pepper versus things like sea oats or native plants where we could have a variety, it's just going to get worse and worse. Could it be pushed off for a few more years? Sure. It's probably not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But
So what
it's been pushed off a lot.
What about, when I'm out there on my charters, like I remember a few months back, they had the airboats running out there, I think spraying for the Brazilian pepper trees in Cocoa Beach. They had some airboats out there doing some kind of surveying or
St. John's
something.
probably.
No.
Yeah.
What were they doing?
They were taking care of the invasive plants on those islands.
Okay,
Yeah, so that was through some FWC funding.
I got you.
That same funding is not available for our dunes.
Okay,
Mhm.
so, but we control the islands, right? Cocoa Beach?
So the islands are owned by the state, but the city has a management plan for them.
Okay.
We
Nice.
lease them from the state.
Actually, there are 2 entities. You're correct that they are owned by the state of Florida, but there are 2 entities that are involved. The South Thousand Islands, at least 400 acres of the South Thousand Islands, is managed by Eels. And the city has a lease for another 600, I think, in the North Thousand Islands that covers basically from the 500 channel, which is south of Minuteman, all the
Yeah.
way to the north
Okay.
and north end of the Thousand Islands.
Okay.
And
I wasn't sure about, like, aren't the, are those Australian pines, aren't they invasive?
yes,
So, because I know they removed all of them from where they were doing the dredging project, where they were dumping the muck and having the barges.
actually, they didn't get all of them.
Not all of them, but I'm saying they got a good amount
Yeah.
gone. But there's that other island that's just adjacent to it on
Right.
the outside of Cocoa Isles.
Yeah.
That's, I wasn't sure if there was, you know, really.
There
I
is
mean, it's
a
been there my
manage-
whole life.
There's a management plan for the south, for the north Thousand Islands. Actually, there's one for both the north and the south. Both of them are, both the use plan has required removal of exotics, and as you probably noticed, most of them have been removed.
Yeah.
They're in a management process where there's some that are popping up that need to be removed. In the north Thousand Islands, there is a long range plan for that, but again, overall, Australian pines are not really
Correct.
good habitat, so,
Correct.
in any case. But,
Alright.
yeah, there's as I said, there's a North Thousand Islands management plan in there, and then there is a schedule which has not been met for removing them. But, again, there was an initial effort to remove some of those along the 300 channel, and, that's probably what you saw
Yeah.
2 years ago or
Yes.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
My concern with this budget is, with the, back to the habitat protection and restoration, is with inflation where it is, I'm seeing a lot of things cut in my, profession, in my budget.
Yeah.
And, due to extenuating increases that we didn't expect. And unfortunately, I believe the environment suffers as a result, especially like removing Brazilian pepper trees.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the city has the funds this year to do that. But, you know, it's probably not. I'm sure the budget's getting trimmed.
Well, of course, that's why, like, if we don't put it in here, it has no chance.
Right, we
But
have
if
to
you
be-
guys take a look at the amounts that were in there last year, we didn't get,
4,000
we got
compared
an
to 29.
increase of
Yeah.
about $0 from the
Yeah.
year before.
Yeah.
So, you know, the budget remained the same for about 2 years.
Did we use that money? That
What money?
$4,000?
So the $4,000 is usually used for our annual CO planting.
Okay.
So there's $2,000 for the CO planting, and then
We don't have that breakdown, do we?
you guys don't have that exact breakdown, but
Oh,
basically
okay.
that money is used for the CO planting and for
How
other
come they barely
you know,
give-
spot plantings
How
Okay.
that we do
barely-
in buying dune stakes and things like that.
How come they barely give any money for the restoration if we're having all these pollution issues and all that?
I don't know. I don't approve the budget.
It's a great question.
I mean, the city of Cocoa Beach has got a parking garage, they got all this beach parking, and I know they're making money off of it. Why aren't they, like,
The money from the parking
That's where
garage
your-
goes to
your
pay for the
recommendation
construction of the parking
would be
garage.
helpful.
Yeah. As I understand it. Any case.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other items that the city needs to probably have rising chemical costs at your wastewater plant, sludge hauling fees, and
Vehicle
just
maintenance.
vehicle maintenance, everything. You know,
Any case.
yeah. So
Well, I'll take a stab at this and make a motion to approve the budget as written. We need a second.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, so then, is that just an all in favor sort of vote?
Aye.
Or do I?
Unless the discussion, you
Is
have to
there-
ask if there's discussion.
Oh.
Okay, is there discussion
Any further
on,
discussion?
how can you get more budget for the habitat and restoration? Like, I'm
We
for
can-
something, but you know, I mean, what is it, $4,000? It's like he
No.
said, I mean, that's like, with inflation and everything, 2,000 went to the COs already.
Right. Well, the next year is set for 29,000.
right. What's your fiscal year starts October 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So 29,000 is a definite improvement over 4. And again, as Kelsey said, some of that will go towards next year's COs, but there's also, you know, $27,000 that will go towards dealing with invasive plants along at beach entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my estimate.
That
for
would be a definite
amount
improvement.
Was what I got from a quote from a contractor, to have someone go in and remove about an acre of invasive plants, haul all of that away, which is expensive and large, and to replant. So it could be one giant area, it could be several smaller areas, but this is what it costs to do this
Yeah.
type of work.
I know you're in the beginning stages of your budget process. When does the council, or commission, excuse me, when do they adopt the budget? In June, July?
I think the last budget meeting is scheduled,
I think
it's July or August.
Oh, July or August, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they could
But usually
fix the
finally.
budget.
So there's always, so this is a recommendation, so this will
Yes.
go to the commission that says the sustainability
Fine,
committee is in
yeah.
favor of these things.
Yeah.
Now, they could include them or they could not.
Right.
Right. Right.
But they will
I'm in favor
have a
of
budget
some of them,
meeting,
but
and
not
then
all.
there'll be like public comment sessions for the budget, and then it'll be adopted. So
Yeah.
that happens in the July-August period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think most municipalities and government agencies do their final budget vote in September. You know, as Kelsey said, there's a lot of discussion months before that. Obviously, we're starting now, but again, there's a fair amount of work. But the final vote usually occurs in September with the
Okay.
October
So,
1 start date.
Okay, great.
So like a question I have then is like, so you were saying not all these would be in your committee or your budget, right? Like the charging station and all that would be in somebody else's.
Yeah, it'll be in the budget that's most appropriate for that. So,
Okay.
you know, like charging stations wouldn't necessarily go in the environmental budget because it's more of an electrical project.
What I'm just wondering is how do they have enough money to spend 12 grand there, 65 grand there, and 420 for a rooftop solar array, but you only got 4 grand or 29 at the next fiscal year for.
So with government budgets, there's like operating budgets and then there's capital improvement budgets.
Is it because they're making money off of this and not off of that?
So no, so capital improvement projects just tend to cost a lot more money because they last longer. Like solar panels have a lifetime of 25 years, so that's why they cost so much. Charging stations will last longer, but something like, you know, education is just our operating budget for us to print pamphlets and things like
But the
that.
charging stations eventually it's
Yeah.
for them to make money off of.
Yeah, it becomes a revenue account in the end, possibly. But I mean, something to consider is I don't know what our available budget's going to be. That's going to be something that's up to the commission.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thanks, Council.
Have we had a vote?
Well, any further discussion?
No, that
On-
was it.
Okay, then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Then the motion passes to approve the budget recommendations.
Good.
All right, then we'll move on to the 2023 Sustainability Plan updates. We were given the current status document for what the sustainability plan is.
Yes.
A lot of personnel changes.
Yes. So, are there any comments on the plan? Any areas that we want to update, places that we think
Yeah.
need revisions, or what is our plan with this plan? Anyone have any comment to make?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of personnel updates. There's a lot of, you know, I started looking at this and said, boy, I mean, there's quite a few things that need to be updated as far as dates and times and people involved and that sort of thing. And honestly, for me anyway, I'd like to have a little bit more time to sit and look with it. And I don't know, Kelsey, do you have some recommendations on where we ought to go with some of these things? I'd be certainly interested in hearing your input on.
Yeah.
what's been done, what needs to be done, what's kind of out of date, that's kind of right.
So one thing that I will point out is, you know, with any good plan, you know, you have the plan and you have some type of methodology or way that you're going to implement it. So that was done here. So if you look on all of these different element pages, there's milestones. A lot of these milestones were, you know, June 2018, 90 days from plan approval. And so I'm not saying some of these things are, you know, impossible, but maybe we need to take a relook at these timelines, because if things haven't been done by June 2018, like that was before a full-time staff person was even here. You know, so nobody was here to do that item. So did we fail, or do we just, you know, relook at that item, like, I don't know, workshops we do, let me look at a specific one.
To me, this is kind of homework for everybody for
Yeah.
later on. And again, Kelsey, I think we're going to have to depend on you for a lot of where we're at on this stuff and what's been done and what hasn't. And
So
maybe some recommendations on where we ought to be.
yeah, so let's just, do you mind if we just kind of go through this just to
Oh,
kind of-
sure.
I think
Go.
that would be helpful for everybody.
Okay.
I do.
So, you know, website and social media, we have a presence on the website. We put things out on social media like the Sea Turtle stuff and things, you know, about recycling your Christmas lights properly and all sorts of things like that. I mean, that is something that's just kind of ongoing. So I don't know if it necessarily meets targets, or if we want to target to have X number of posts per year. You know, that could be something the group could consider. You know, events and workshops, I think Adria wanted to talk about that a little bit later in the meeting. But, you know, before there was a minimum of 6 workshops or community events, and we have well exceeded that, you know, year after year after year. So that's kind of something that's ongoing. Some of these other education ones, you know, are also kind of ongoing. But if we move to, let's see, element, there's no page for this, I apologize. Element 3.
Okay.
So it says element 3A, greenhouse gas reduction in city facilities. So we did a greenhouse gas inventory. Is there a schedule at which we think is appropriate to update that inventory? And, you know, thinking realistically, most people don't do it every single year because the data is not readily available. So we did a greenhouse gas inventory for the baseline year of 2019. So I think most people do it every 3 to 5 years. So we could look at doing that soon, but coming up with a schedule for that might be appropriate. Also, greenhouse gas fleet reductions. We don't have a fleet transition plan. We're starting to implement some hybrids and possibly some electric vehicles, but there may be some things that the fleet department could recommend, or even the regional planning council could recommend for us as far as a schedule with that. Because a lot of the funding that's coming down through the infrastructure bill, you have to have a fleet transition plan. I know the city of Cape Canaveral has one, so maybe the committee could take a look at that and just make some recommendations of things to consider in the fleet transition plan. And that's something that might take a little bit of time.
So a fleet transition plan, but that's not, where would that originate?
Yeah, so we would probably need, so we have an inventory of all the vehicles, and we'd have to come up with a replacement schedule. So they're all replaced, you know, this vehicle's planned to be replaced in 2025 and 2026. So when that time comes, what do we replace it with? Do we buy another diesel truck? Do we buy another, you know, gas? Or do we get a hybrid? Or do we get an electric vehicle? Can an SUV be replaced with something that is a smaller vehicle that saves gas mileage, or is an EV? These are the types of things that I don't think this committee is going to make the decision on, but, you know, maybe looking at what other cities have put into their fleet transition plan and making recommendations of, you know, I mean, here it even says maybe 50% of the fleet should be this type of vehicle. But I might have more information for you guys at the next meeting about that. The Regional Planning Council is working to develop a process for cities to develop a fleet transition plan. So they might have a recommendation that I don't know about yet.
I see that they've recommended, Kelsey, $61,200 in the budget for greenhouse gas emissions tracking.
The 61,000.
Yes.
That, yes. So based on our last greenhouse gas inventory, there's obviously lots of areas that we need to make improvements to reach net zero by 2050. which is what our commission set the goal as. So net zero emissions, so we need to reduce our emissions by a ton. And, you know, I'm not an expert on all of the ways to do that. You can do the low-hanging fruit, like put in solar panels, put in EV charging, but when it comes to making improvements at our wastewater treatment plant, or making all of these other improvements to our vehicles and things, I'm not an expert. So this master plan would be a consultant coming in, making recommendations on projects we could implement to reduce that to net zero by 2050. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think people are, I don't want to get off subject here, Kelsey, but I think a lot of people are more concerned about how they're going to pay for their groceries rather than how they're going to reduce greenhouse emissions.
So this is
And-
specifically government operations. This
Right.
is not for people's like houses.
Yeah.
This is our buildings. How here in our government operation are we gonna do this?
Very good. So this is a government operation, not, you're not
Yes.
implementing this process and program.
Right.
There's two different tiers in greenhouse gas operations.
Okay,
There's municipal and community. We're
Perfect.
focusing on municipal
Thank
with
you.
this.
Thanks for that clarification.
Mhm.
Well, so, we skipped through all of all of the element twos. Those are pretty standard, so it's going back to element 3A. Are you thinking that something needs to change here, other than like, you're thinking that we need to look at the
Or like, here's the report, you know?
Okay,
So that may be where this master planning comes into play,
okay.
something like that.
So, or behind the scenes in your day-to-day walk here in the city, are you putting together information for the commission and as the city eco department? Are you obviously we would very much appreciate your input for those milestones and what's expected of the city to meet those goals.
Yeah, so back when we finished the greenhouse gas inventory, it was presented to the commission in January or February of last year. So it's been
Okay.
about a year since they saw it. And
Okay.
I think most people update their inventory on greenhouse gas emissions every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So that would be, if we did it every 3 years, we could look at, so we did 2019, so we could do 2022 data. It's probably not available yet, but it may be available in a few months. Or we could do 2024, which would mean we wouldn't start the update until 2025 when that data is available. And this just helps us track, and you know, if we're making improvements. And what I can tell you is that we made a bunch of building improvements. We updated to LED lighting fixtures and all sorts of stuff. That was after 2019, so probably already going to see an improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The LED lights.
And
are
obviously we've had a couple new buildings come online too, which,
Yeah.
So that might change it too.
Sure.
and another one pending, so.
Very good. Is there any other elements you want to discuss? Or are we done with 3A or, I mean, we'll
Do you
look
have
at,
anything else for 3A that you wanted to talk about?
no, I'd like to read it at home and learn, study it and
Dig
look
in
at
a
those
little deeper,
milestones.
yeah.
Okay.
Did you want to make recommendation for milestones tonight? Or,
Let me think about that.
okay,
Let me think about it because I know the Regional Planning Council has some guidance for what they suggested local governments do.
okay,
Because a lot of local governments did theirs at the same time with 2019 data. So it would be good to maybe follow suit with what everyone else is doing. So I don't remember what that year is. It's either 3 or it's 5. But I
Okay.
can bring that back.
great.
Um,
Should we look at the next elements that are of concern or should be addressed, and then we can,
Yes. So, like 3F, maintenance items. You know, it says to create a policy for replacing maintenance items with ones that are more energy efficient. I can tell you the city, they do this, but it's not a policy. So is that something that we still want to do, or is that just something that is now general standard operating procedure that doesn't require a policy? There's energy efficient lights,
gotcha,
all of that kind of stuff. So these are just things to think about. We don't need an answer tonight.
okay.
Element 3G, banned styrofoam, we did that. Should we take it out? Should we we add something to it, you know, there's those types of things that have been completed, kind of like a one and done. So I don't know where in the plan those fit now.
What would be an eco-friendly lawn? Somebody who's not using fertilizer, or like
For the
an
lawn?
AstroTurf lawn?
Are you asking what a substitute for fertilizer is?
No. I'm just saying, like, you know, because like I saw in here, it said something. I think it was Tony Sass's project or something. I was just glancing through and it said something about eco-friendly lawns that are along the waterways. What do they consider eco-friendly lawn that's along the waterway?
That's a great question. So, there's lagoon-friendly landscaping, so a place or a lawn that has, you know, lagoon-friendly plants. There's also a recommended 10-foot no fertilizer zone next to any water body. So putting plants along, you know, the seawall or even just rocks so that the grass is not going in there.
So who regulates that fertilizer ban?
So it's really difficult to go around and
Because I was
catch
gonna
people
say,
fertilizing, but
my
then-
house is on the water and I see neighbors and everybody fertilizing all their lawn.
Yeah, it is difficult. I can't be in,
No, I know.
500 lawns at one time, but it is a ban across the county through the rainy season. And they put up signage in the participating home improvement stores notifying people of this.
It's a seasonal ban. The State Department of Agriculture, that again, that's the municipalities around have gone for the seasonal ban for fertilizer use. As far as what's contained in fertilizer is regulated by Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. If you look in the stores these days, you'll find that almost every, at least fertilizers for lawn, do not have any phosphorus in them anymore, and that was one of the things that they did.
Now let me ask you about on the seawall. So you got your vinyl seawalls, which are the ones that are slotted and dripped in, and then you got like custom docks where they
Yes,
have
wood.
pressure treated
Right.
going into the water. Now, is it better to have a vinyl seawall because it can retain all that stuff instead of it leaching out through the plankton?
Vinyl leaches stuff
It
too.
does leach, yes, correct. But does it hold it back better than a wooden slotted seawall? No.
So I don't necessarily think we're worried about the things coming through the seawall, it's the things coming over the top. So the grass clippings flying in, you know, dog waste, washing
Right.
in over the top of the seawall. So I know that our building department has started.
So how do you do it with lawn service guys when they have a customer that they mow? They collect the clippings instead of blowing it all into the yard, or into the waterway.
Yeah, that's what should happen. But I'm sure, you know, any of us that have used a weed eater, if you're weed eating right up next to your seawall, it's almost nearly impossible to make sure all of the grass remains on the yard. So that's where that 10-foot buffer comes in of maybe doing rocks or native plants that don't require that type of maintenance.
Right.
Shell.
But it's encouraged.
Sure.
There's certainly extension does some education programs for lawn maintenance people. In fact, some of this stuff, especially for application of herbicides and such like, they have to have a license of sorts. And you know that they have education sessions at least every year. I know Sally Scalera and such like with extension is heavily into that. Now again, you're right. You know, you're the guys that the mow, blow, and go guys are there, and
No,
sometimes half of it goes into the storm drain or off the seawall.
Correct.
But you know, that's.
I mean, I grew up as a kid. My mom made me bag the lawn.
Yeah. But
You know, a push mower with a bag on the back, and you dump
Yep.
it into a garbage can
yeah.
every Wednesday.
Well, most
with
of
recycling.
most of your mowers these days are mulchers. The guys don't, and that's an interesting conundrum too, because when all that stuff you bagged went to the landfill, and it's actually better off for the lawn to mulch it back into the lawn. You use less fertilizer. But
So all of this stuff that you guys are kind of suggesting, like, you know, the lawn with code enforcement and things like that might be element 4C, taking a look at the land development code and code ordinances, and seeing if there's anything that from the committee's perspective that would be appropriate to update for sustainability reasons.
4C, you said?
Yeah, so the regulatory review.
One of the things I noticed, Kelsey, with these elements is the different member leads,
oh yeah,
and some of those definitely, will
Oh,
need
yeah.
to be updated. And,
they're old.
yeah.
And cross my name out anytime you want.
No.
Can I ask, what was the intention with the committee member lead? Like, what role does that person play?
I was not here when he was
Okay.
playing. He was right next to the law, my home.
Okay. My memory is lousy, but any case. I believe that the committee members were kind of gonna track this stuff. They weren't gonna be, out there crusading for it. It was gonna be that they were tracking how progress was being made with the various agencies or people involved, the other groups that were involved.
So kind of keeping up on those milestones, or
Yeah,
more directly sort of,
just
pushing
just tracking it more than anything else.
okay.
But I think kind of with that, this was before there was a full-time staff person. This is
That's
2 years
true.
before I was here.
Mhm.
So nobody on the staff side was here to dedicate time to this.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
So that's probably why there was a committee member in
Yeah.
charge of it.
The lady who was our staff member had many other duties and not directly involved with this, so.
Okay.
Do we think that's still a meaningful, like, indicator for each element? Is that something that we need?
I noticed that some of them are managed by the city manager or city staff, and then some are stormwater, some are the sustainability committee. So I'm not sure who would
Well,
determine that.
Yeah, I think it's something to think about when we're looking through these.
So I think, something to consider is that sustainability is all encompassing.
Mhm.
So, a lot of these things are very environmental focused, but there's 3 pillars of sustainability. So there may be additional elements and sections and things that need to be added. I don't know what those things are.
Mhm.
But this is all, water quality and education and very environmental focused plan. So there may be other municipalities that have other, areas in their plan that we might be able to look at. I know Cape Canaveral just redid their plan next year. So that might be a good one to look at and see if there's any additional sections.
Again, I think it's a take-home project for right now, and look at it, think about it, add, delete.
I have a question for Kelsey and for the committee on element 1B, events. Is this sort of what's sustainability's role in city events? Or something else?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this looks like, events, so it looks like the sustainability committee hosts events and workshops, but this is events, like, that the city issues permits for, like
Mhm.
special events and those types of things.
Mhm.
So, we already banned styrofoam and single-use plastics at those events, but are there additional things the committee would like to see?
Okay.
Or is this even necessary in here? So I think something to just keep in mind as you guys are thinking about this is we need realistic milestones that are specific, but not so specific that if we find there's a different way to do it,
Mhm.
or, a different path to take, that we're kind of like locked into this one little box.
Like that.
Yeah.
We're not necessarily looking for black and white, but we also not looking for gray.
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys are doing
They
on
need
the
to be
land is
realistic
good. I'm more
milestones,
like kind of
but
focused on
flexible.
what's the worst thing that we got going on in any
Not
county
running
on the
fast,
coast
black and
right
white.
now is the
Maybe a
river.
little fuzzy.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, are we,
Good way to describe it.
how many, are they redoing the sewer lines? Are they, are they re-sleeving them? You were saying there was a project where they're gonna dump sand over the muck and try to, what was it? I forget what the project.
The
The
capping.
capping
Yeah.
project,
Yeah, so the wastewater
I mean,
department.
cause by far from when I see our city looks beautiful to me. Sidewalks look fine, everything else looks fine, it's the river that's the dump.
So
It truly
the,
is.
The wastewater department, they're slip lining the sewers, and so is
Yeah.
stormwater. I don't remember exactly, but I know that they're projecting to be done in the next in a few years,
Yeah,
if the money is there.
yeah.
So it's things,
So how do we make sure that the money's there? Is that money from the city for the city's pipes, or is that
city
all
pipes, so that
grant
goes
funds?
into this whole budgeting process also for capital improvements.
I was here for the meeting, the public meeting last night, and one of the facts they threw out was that 70% of the sewer lines in the city have been relined, and the 30% that's remaining is basically budgeted out in the next couple of years.
So it's gonna get done.
It's going to get done eventually. Yes. You know, whether it's next year or the year after or 3 years from now, I honestly don't
And
know.
when they inspected these sewer lines, when they were doing them, is it like how you would do like a cast iron pipe at a house with a smoke test?
So they have little robots that they
Camera.
send in.
Yeah, they have
Camera.
it's cameras.
Camera.
Yeah, you probably know how.
And out
They
of
water
and
jet
out
it
of
and then camera it.
70% of all those pipes, how bad were the pipes?
I mean, they have film, they have cameras, and as the camera
But I mean,
travels
is
in.
that public knowledge for the city people
Of
to
course.
know what's really going on? And how
Everything's
much
public
pollution
record.
is going into the but it's not, you don't hear about it on the news unless there's a big spill.
No, but you can request that information. It's public record.
Yeah.
And the city will give you that information.
Right.
But somebody has to ask for it.
Yeah.
But it's believe me, it's not entrancing video. You fall asleep watching it.
Of course
so.
you would.
Yeah. And you gotta know what you're looking for in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd talk to Brad Kelso at the wastewater plant, see if, if you let him see what he has on
Now, when
that.
they're sleeving the inside, which I've watched YouTube videos, it's like some kind of a,
It's a sock.
it's a sock, and it's got like a, like
Yeah.
epoxy or something, and it hardens. Now that pipe was one size, now it's smaller in size. Does that mean now the pipes could be starting to back up more?
No.
Because now the pipe is smaller inside?
No, you're not losing any velocity. There's no change in friction loss. Actually the pipe's smoother. Everything will flow better. So yeah, those pipes usually don't have 25% flow in them anyway, unless it's a force main being pumped. The gravity lines are the ones that they're slip lining.
And then like, I noticed it was last year they redid the sewer lines or something on Catalina.
Okay.
Is that was that part of that whole project?
I'm not familiar with the project.
I guess.
Yeah. So, we talked about, I'm glad you brought these elements up, because when you were asking, or we talked about the last meeting, updating the sustainability plan. And I had looked at it, I'm like, I'm not really sure what needs updating, but now I see the elements, elements in the back, and having those elements in front of me are extremely helpful. I propose that I'd like to go home and read about each element, and then also, if you don't mind, putting some recommendations together for the ones that the sustainability committee chairs or champions, and then obviously we wouldn't have much input on a city manager's element or the Brevard Zoo.
Which one is that?
Which one?
So one thing that I'll say, I think is when this was being put together, is it was looking to and this is one of those things that's very specific. Is partnering with these specific organizations. So what if something happened and Cape Brevard Beautiful was no longer around? Or what if Brevard Zoo was no longer doing oyster restoration? I'm not saying that's gonna happen.
Right.
But having these very specific things in the plan might be something that isn't sustainable long term.
I understand.
And then, things within the the city manager department. I think it's appropriate to assume, kind of like we talked about with the budget, that other departments will be involved. It doesn't necessarily mean that because the city manager's name is on this, that she is in charge of that item.
I got you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of the stuff is partnership with outside organizations which are already involved in this type
Of course.
this type of activity. MRC for water quality, Florida Solar and Energy Center for solar stuff.
So are you looking for guidance from the sustainability committee on elements, on all of the elements then? Or
So-
just certain elements?
So I think the plan as a whole, let's look at the plan as a whole. I wouldn't necessarily focus on who is going to be the staff person in charge of this. This is probably going to be something that's decided by staff. I think the committee's role is to
Big
look at these
picture.
elements, decide, are these appropriate elements? Are there different milestones that may be more appropriate for that one, updating it? Are there additional things that are in here that we haven't thought about? And I can send you, like I said, Cape Canaveral and some of the other cities. you know, our neighbors, some of the things that they're considering, maybe we need to also consider if they're not in here. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I think that's a great recommendation. Yep.
All right, I'll put down to send you a few of our neighboring cities' plans.
Okay. And then I would say at our next meeting, we continue the discussion. Just, you know, open it for some more suggestions and ideas, and then just see where that leads us for the next step.
That'll give us a few weeks to go through and
Yeah.
read these.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna be, we're all gonna come up in the next meeting, we're gonna be like, yep,
Right.
put a bow on it, it's done.
Yeah.
But I think we should have the ongoing discussion
Absolutely.
and keep
Yeah.
touching on it.
I foresee.
Maybe putting it into a different format of a
Okay.
document that would be presentable to people and have it on
Mhm.
the website. That might take time. And then with these updates, it'll probably be something that goes before the commission again
Okay.
to have
Okay.
them accept the updates.
Okay. Do we want to have a final by September?
Yeah, I would say let's not bring it, they're probably not gonna wanna see this during the
Budget.
hectic of budget.
Sure.
So it would probably be sometime after that, sometime after October that it would go before then.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay. All right, any other comments on this at this time? Okay, then we are going to say we're gonna have discussion on that for next meeting, and we'll move on then to the 2023 Sustainability Events and Outreach. We have two items under, sub-items under this item, discussing event topics and format, and then the sustainability branding. I think they're sort of tied into each other, so I'm gonna open up for discussion ideas. The events and workshops and education are part of our plan, so it's important that we create something for outreach. Does anyone have comment? And you also, in your packet, have lists of slogans as well. So, anyone want to open up for ideas for events?
I like the don't be goon, fix the lagoon.
What
So,
was it? Dump the what?
don't be goon, fix the lagoon, he said.
It's number.
Yeah, it's 4 on the
4
small
on the
font
list.
sheet, yeah.
Those came out of my word processor. I won't claim for putting them
Or
together.
don't
They
be a
came out of
goon,
my
fix the
my
lagoon.
word.
Today I was actually
Word
gonna try
document.
the Chat GPT and see if they could come up with something good. I didn't get a chance to get to it. I was gonna ask them for some
Yeah.
slogans.
And Wayne came up with a few here too, so.
I actually had some thoughts. I think these are great. I had some other ideas as well. The more that time I spend on this, the more that I realize that we are not madmen. And I don't know, like, you know, these are great. I think that perhaps I'm going to propose an idea here,
Okay.
that we have a contest in the community. And there's some sort of prize. I don't know what that is. I was actually thinking about Trash Bash that we were talking about earlier. KBB does a T-shirt every year for Trash Bash, and I don't know if it's just for the schools. I only know it because my children have participated in it, but the art students all create some sort of logo for that year's Trash Bash, and then there's a winner chosen, and it's, you know, a very big deal, and they go on all the T-shirts. And I have been at Trash Bash, and people actually really like the T-shirts. I've seen them around town. I see the kids at school wear the Trash Bash T-shirt. Like, it's you know, it's everybody loves a free T-shirt. That's totally true. I don't know if we'll do T-shirts. It's just one idea, but I think that it might be a way to engage the community, get some excitement. It's kind of fun. People do love T-shirts. I think the schools would like it as well. So I don't have, you know, we can hash this out what that would look like, but some sort of community contest
Okay.
for our sustainability slogan. Like, how do we, you know, let's get involved in sustainability, and, you know, sort of create some sort of contest.
Would it be possible, Kelsey, to have, for folks to have a place on the city website for people to cast maybe not cast a, maybe
Put in suggestions.
put a
and then
suggestion
and then have a
have
voting
people
thing.
vote on it?
Yeah.
How would that work?
Possibly. I know the committee visited this similar idea a few years ago, and it was a little squirrely on the side of the city, because most things that we do in the city has to have a very specific way of scoring and ranking, and so ranking something in this type of way was a little, we were just unsure. So let me revisit that with our PIO and our city manager and see what kinds of things we need to consider if we want to do like a contest of some type. Is that okay? If I come back with some suggestions. I just don't want you guys to do a lot of work and then
Right.
turns
No,
out
of
we can't
course.
do it.
And that was just my idea. You guys
Yeah.
can shoot it down if you're like, no, that's really not a good idea. I'm totally fine with that. But I just think, we're always looking for ways to engage people and kind of grab attention and hey, we're here. This is the work that we're doing.
Here's an off-the-wall thought. Maybe we could farm that out to somebody or other else, like the art studio or something, where they might do the contest themselves, and
And
do
then come
the
with
ranking and all that sort of stuff, and they would pick the winner, and we would accept it as a donation or whatever. I don't know whether that would work or not, but in any case, that's one thing.
Who specifically? Like which?
I don't, again, I don't know what organization. It might be the Studio of Cocoa Beach that did that for either the slogan or the art, or it could be Kiwanis Rotary. One of the service organizations might be willing to do something like that. I don't know.
I know that the city of Melbourne asks students to have an art contest, and they had thousands of art submittals from school, and the city chose a handful of students for awards. We used those students' art and their artwork and our banners and our pamphlets and brochures. Really good artists. There's some really good ones. And even some of the slogans they came up with their art, because their art had to include a slogan. And we could leave it up to the schools, to let the schools, the art programs, let them, it's amazing some of the talent some of these young adults and children have. Let their artwork speak. I like that.
I had a brain seizure here from every fall we have an art festival here.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Put it
Yes.
incorporated in that.
we could.
See if they'd be interested.
Would that be too far out? Do we need to have this?
Oh, we don't need.
We're not.
There's no calendar on this.
Okay.
I
I
don't
didn't know.
believe.
I didn't know.
Several years ago that
Okay.
there was an artist or two that came forth with something, or then we looked at it and it didn't go far. It didn't go forward. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying it was good, bad, or indifferent, but there may have been it just got laid on the counter.
I'll bring some examples of art, just a few pieces. I'll print a few out from a previous contest that had happened, and it was. I'll bring it in for you guys to take a look
Yeah,
at.
thank you. I would love that.
Yeah.
So that was just one idea I had.
Yeah.
So instead of us kind of brainstorming and then having to decide amongst the five of us, and then make this all over Cocoa Beach, I thought it might be fun. It might be fun. I thought it might be engaging. So that's one idea I had. We can still discuss the slogans that we have if you guys want to, or we can.
One thing that was another great
Yes.
idea was that the first issue was the event topics and format for 2023.
Yes.
As you know, in the last couple of years, we did events. We had evening sessions, and unfortunately, they were not particularly well attended.
There were a few that were well attended. It just wasn't all of them.
Yeah, they were.
Which
Good.
ones were more popular?
The one on sea turtle lighting
Yeah.
and the one about the lagoon report card. And
Yep.
we did put these recordings up on our YouTube, and they actually have a lot of views.
Maybe we should consider, since they were popular, maybe.
I heard something, but I don't remember.
I didn't
Yeah.
interrupt you.
Yeah.
I
It's the
apologize.
MRC, right? That's-
Yeah, it's MRC. They do an analysis of the water quality data of the lagoon, and they update it every year to show where things are
Are you thinking doing similar events as those?
Yeah, and there was a third one that I know previously. There was a group that was sponsoring for solar. That the solar combine or collective
The
or
Solar
whatever it
United
was
Neighbors.
that went pretty good several years ago. And again, so those are three: turtle lighting, solar,
And the one on sea level rise.
oh, the sea level rise. Yeah, Randy. Yeah,
It was very well attended. There was probably 20 people on the Zoom call alone.
yeah. We probably recruit Randy to come back again. But those are those are topics. Again, do we want to go forward with that, or?
I wonder if it's not the topic, but maybe it's the time and spacing between them. You know, if we have 3 or 4 weeks between each event to promote it, do people actually hear about it? Maybe that is the problem. Maybe they're just too frequently.
Are you thinking quarterly?
I like
Yeah.
the idea of quarterly.
And I know you guys have previously talked about, instead of just doing these, presentations, kind of sprinkling in additional activities as well, like having tables at Friday Fest, and I don't know if anybody has additional thoughts on that.
We've talked about the Friday Fest quite a few times. I do think, but we had said that it might be more effective if we were partnered either with another organization or some other city department or element.
Yep.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
I do think that
Yeah.
that's something that we should do.
And again, I think I said this, that perhaps Leisure Services, the other county,
Right.
other city group that probably is one that is looking to reach out for the public for their events, their kitty camps and so forth, and they might be a good to partner with.
But again, so I don't think we should just show up at Friday Fest and have a table and put up a sign and stand there. Like, that's not engaging, that's not interesting. People
Agreed.
want to have a good time, they're not like,
Agreed.
oh, the lagoon is so bad, come talk to me. So we need to, that sort of thing has to be something more than standing around talking. We gotta think, what is that? What does that look like?
Do we have a game?
We have Lagoonology.
Are you?
Do you win prizes? Is it like a carnival?
So I have seen other cities have like a wheel, they
Yep.
spin, or things like that.
Does Cocoa Beach have a wheel?
You could build one.
The fabrication shop is really good.
She have a wheel and stuff that she's doing.
Yeah.
Stuff at the city.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't
What month?
remember
We're
she gave
in
away,
March.
but
Okay.
something like that.
So, even like Dr. Edel coming and speaking to the commission, that is a public
Right.
presentation about the
Mhm.
lagoon
Mhm.
and things being done. So I don't know if we
We-
could do these like other events, but there's also little things like this sprinkled in. We
Yeah.
do our tree giveaway.
I was just gonna
in
ask you,
April.
we're doing trees this year.
Yeah, we're doing
Okay.
trees again this year. That's something. In May, at the first meeting in May, I'm going to be giving an update on sea turtle lighting to the commission. So there's all these little things kind of sprinkled in, but what does the committee want to sponsor?
Mhm.
Well, we'll take credit for that. If nothing else, we'll take credit for it, for Dr. Ebel, your turtle lighting,
It
the
sounds like we're
trees.
gonna be taking a lot of
I'll
credit for
put it
your
in your
work.
end of year report.
So Kelsey, so I'd say we start here. I mean, we're not gonna
Yeah.
eat the whole thing at once. We're bite by bite here. So, as far as, so we'll start with the idea of the info sessions. We had 4 here. Do we want to stick with this list of 4? Sea turtle lighting, lagoon report card, sea level rise, and some sort of, I don't know what the solar one was, so I just wrote that down because,
So the solar one was a co-op with
Yeah.
a not-for-profit. So they move around and they do co-ops, which is like a bulk purchase of solar panels for homeowners.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know if they're doing that this year in Cocoa Beach
Yeah.
or in
Okay.
Brevard County, so I don't know.
Okay,
how that
so-
would work.
let's start with the 3 then.
Adria, what 3 are you thinking?
The sea turtle lighting, the
Lagoon.
MRC lagoon report card, and the sea level rise presentation.
Right. Oh, I know Randy.
And then,
You might be able to
What's
do
the
some
sea
solar
level
stuff, but
rise
Florida Solar
presentation?
Energy Center sometimes does presentations. And
If we reached out to them, what kinds of information do you think the residents would be interested in knowing?
Yeah.
about that.
What's the
Anything.
sea level rise presentation?
Well, yeah, there's a guy named Randy Parkinson, who was a professor at FIT, has been doing quite a bit on sea level rise, and he did a pretty decent presentation for us a couple of years ago, and I'm sure we can probably recycle and bring him back. So he's a-
Yeah, his presentation is on the city's YouTube.
Okay.
I recorded it so people have been
But I
watching
mean,
it.
what was it based on? Like Cocoa Beach is gonna be underwater in 100 years?
Yeah, showing how Brevard County as a whole would be affected by
right.
the impacts of sea level rise.
How long ago was that presentation? How many years?
2, 3,
Probably 2 years ago.
yeah.
He was just
Would that be
suggesting
too soon to have that same presentation?
Probably not.
I imagine there's new data.
Yeah. Or maybe an update to the last data. Has it come up, a quarter inch, half inch, whatever?
This might be something that could be incorporated with presenting information from our stormwater master plan.
Okay.
Because you were asking about, water level rises and how that's gonna impact us.
Mhm.
And our stormwater master plan details that for us in Cocoa Beach based on different projections of sea level rise and storms and different types of flooding. So combining those two, maybe someone talks for 15 minutes, someone else talks for 15 minutes, just to kind of hone it back into Cocoa Beach.
Mm-hmm.
There's several.
Because now Cocoa Beach is a flood zone.
Yeah.
When we were never a flood zone.
It is very low around here.
I know,
It's
but
gonna be
I've
wet
lived here
here.
36
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
It's never flooded my neighborhood. Now I'm in a flood zone.
The streets coming up.
I just- I feel like it was one of those scams where the government was trying to get more money from FEMA.
The second one was a little bit higher.
Kelsey, would you be able to reach out to your contacts for each one of the sea level rise, lagoon report card, and sea turtle lighting, and see any availability, sort of, so we can start kind of getting an idea of dates, and then we can figure out what would work and venues and move from there?
Yes.
Okay.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Another one I might suggest
Yes.
is having someone come from the Save Our Indian River Lagoon program,
Mm-hmm.
giving an update to our residents, because you were talking about, highlighting things that residents can do and how, there's kind of things at the personal level that people can do, but then there's also
Right.
bigger projects.
I can ask Matt Battalato if he'll show up.
Okay.
He's like in charge of like the whole 0.5% sales tax, like all the projects. I'm sure you know who he is, right?
Yeah, so he's,
I spoke to him today.
yeah, they have an education person, and Matt
Okay.
sometimes helps with that.
Yeah.
I can reach out to that education person,
Right.
so I think they do the
Okay.
public
Right.
presentations.
But the lagoon program has recently hired, actually, 3 public outreach people that are, community outreach people that are tasked with that, going out and doing show and tells. And
Yes.
you've met Jesse, and I know the other lady that is out of, come on, what's her name? Heather, that's out of Indian River County, that covers at least south and central Brevard. So again, that would be, invite them to come in, they'd probably come and do a show and tell for us.
Is this the lagoon or the National Estuary Program?
National
you said?
Estuary
National
Program, yeah.
Okay. So some type of project, either it's, whether it's Save Our Lagoon or the National Estuary Program, some type of presentation about projects being done,
Mhm.
is what we're
Yeah.
looking for?
Mhm.
Okay.
And Sorrel, all that kind of Sorrel as well.
Okay.
And
I'll
like
see who's available.
Like I said, I feel like the river is the biggest
Yeah.
issue.
I agree.
It literally is the biggest issue.
Are there any specific topics you would like to see discussed?
I'm just like, how much, alright, so it's like you said, the lagoon report card. Okay, I've never looked at it, I kinda think I've heard of it before, Matt might have mentioned it to me before. Alright, so you had a lagoon report card for 2019, is it something you do for each year?
So they do, but the data, because it has to be QA/QC, is a few years old.
What's
And
QA/QC?
It has to be checked to make sure it's accurate.
Quality assurance, quality control.
Okay, so like, is the date, alright, so my question would be or I would wanna know is, okay, from 2020 to 2023, is the water improved or has it gotten worse? Why is it getting worse if we're doing all these projects and trying to fix these things? What's still making it worse?
Because the lock's closed.
I think a lot of people, have that question, why do we still see blooms and things, so,
If you look at
I think the Save Our Lagoon
Like,
program
how
and the
come,
report card would talk about those
how come
things.
last year the water was so crystal clear, which it normally is in the winter, cause it kills off the algae blooms. This year it didn't.
Has to do with rain too. how much
In rain,
yeah.
correct, correct, the runoff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that go into it, you know, it's a
I know,
dynamic
but it just,
system.
you know, growing up here, it never was like that.
Hmm.
You had seagrass beds, everything. I mean,
Well, this is my take on it.
I
you
hate
know,
to say,
my-
but the manatee people are gonna help.
So this is the thing. If you look up and down the eastern seaboard of Florida, and you look at Jacksonville, and you look at St. Augustine, and you look at Ponce Inlet, and you look at Sebastian, Jupiter, Stewart, and you continue south, their ecosystems are much stronger than ours. And the one common thing they all have is they have an open channel to the ocean that's tidal influenced. They're clean. Their ecosystems are cleaner.
But
They
we
have
had
better.
it.
They have better report cards. They have grass.
You are correct. Their fishery up there is also still phenomenal.
Be-
But we had an amazing ecosystem here.
Because
So how come we killed it? How do we take away what we did to not kill it?
it's just it's actually if you look at, you sent me some great information, by the way. I appreciate that. And that was a phenomenal video presentation. It's been declining over the last 15 years.
Correct, it has.
And
In the
and
last 10 years, it's
Longer
gotten
than
the
that.
worse.
it's caught up with us. 15 years ago, the river was clear.
There was still,
I'm
there was,
going to have
there
to
was
disagree
still
with you on
balloons,
that.
but
It was
you
pretty
had
clear.
seagrass.
Yes.
Maybe not as much, but now it's totally gone. And as a result of it, now you're having all these manatees dying off.
Yeah. I had a manatee eating algae off of a pylon behind
Yeah.
my house yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're saying, oh, they're trying these projects where we need to be feeding the manatees.
Okay.
to
Well,
get
we're
WC.
off topic.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah,
I'm just,
yeah,
I'm
we're-
just
we're
saying.
kinda- we're kinda
there's
we're
a
off-
huge
we're
issue
off topic.
with the river.
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about
So
electric
That's
cars
a-
and
that's-
solar.
that's a great goal for you to
Right.
take on. A task.
Yeah, we've got to remember what our charge was from the city commission. Those
Yes.
are the guys that gave us the direction on what we're supposed to be looking at. And yet certainly the river is part of it, but
Yes.
there's other things as well.
I get that.
So,
Okay,
Yes, moving on.
I will say, I was reading it was an addendum to what the Sustainability Committee is, the last addendum that the commission did, and they did put an emphasis in they added an emphasis on educational opportunities and improving water quality in the lagoon. Those were the two things most emphasized in that addendum.
okay.
So
Okay.
it does speak to sort of what they are willing to
It's very important.
take on recommendation. Just something to think about.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so we have, Kelsey's going to reach out, sort of get an idea of scheduling, and then when we come back, we should have an answer. And then at that point, I would like to discuss what those events actually look like. Is this, do we show up in this room and someone talks up here to a group that's there? How are we going to disseminate the information about the event? I think those are going to be important questions that I think we should discuss at the next meeting, about what is the format.
Okay.
A question I have for the committee is, do you have any sort of ideas or connections of maybe local businesses that would be willing to host one of these events? I know we had the one at Tiny Turtle, and that was a roaring success. What was the
What
one?
kind of a venue are you looking
What
for?
was the Tiny Turtle
It
one?
was the report card and sea turtle lighting was there.
Okay.
Right.
And those went
It's-
over really well.
It's always to have food and booze.
Yes.
And they do
So if you
charcuterie
can,
boards.
so anyone who would be willing to host, and what would we consider numbers for that, Kelsey, for an event? Would we ask, if we were asking a local business to take on the hosting role, what would we,
Good attendance, I feel would be over 20.
okay,
We've never had more than 40.
okay.
Well,
So that's kind of the capacity that we're looking for. And so when we come back with some dates and ideas for these, we can talk about possible venues and ways to host these. All right, and then the Friday Fest, I don't have the schedule of Friday Fest. I feel like we should kind of reach for something there.
It's the third Friday of every month.
So we're in March.
So the 17th is the next one. My question with Friday Fest is, were you referring to this group? I know you said maybe having a table, or are we looking for other groups? Like we had Surfrider
Mm-hmm.
in January, go to Friday Fest and they had a booth.
Mhm.
Do we want other groups come in and be featured, or?
I think it should be a partnership, because I think that we should also be sort of forward-facing to the community, and that's my feeling on it. So, yes, having, you know, a group like Surfrider or what have you, and, you know, we would have to volunteer our time as well to show up there and represent the committee. I don't have a list off the top of my head of organizations that I think would be valuable to partner with. Why don't we,
Put on your thinking cap.
yes, and I'm gonna make a note.
So,
So if we can sort of think about anyone we would wanna ask or invite to Friday Fest. And then we can start reaching out to them and talking about dates for that. Okay, we have a very full list, very big to-do
Were you
list.
gonna reach out to somebody about the Indian River release thing?
Yeah, I'll reach out about the quarterly presentations. We have contacts for all of this, so I'll reach out and see their availability.
I like your list.
Alright.
And then, but you guys come back
Good
with
job.
what age range you suggested, the list of organizations we may be able to partner with for Friday Fest. And I don't think you're looking for them to reach out to these organizations, just,
No, just come with the list and then we can discuss what we think.
Is there a list of organizations that are here locally? Like,
I don't have a list, I would just sort of,
I mean,
like
some
I
of
know,
them-
I've heard of Surfriders organization, I've
Right.
heard of the Indian River people, but I'm like, what do you want, like, them to just, at the Friday Fest, where we're partnering with them on a booth?
we would have a booth, a table together. A lot of them have sort of their educational component that they already kind of know when they go out to the community what they're gonna like show or whatever. So we wouldn't necessarily have to tell them this is what you're gonna do there, and we would also just show up and sort of piggyback on their greatness
No,
and,
I've got
and just say, we're here. So
So like, when you need a partnership, like our committee and this, or like two groups, like maybe like KBB and another thing that's helping to keep, I mean.
we could do I say we just shoot for one to start. I mean, I just want to like get it going. So if it was KBB and we wanted to show up with them and do that, that would be awesome. So, but like, you know, KBB is a
They
great
have been doing
example.
a lot for around here. I mean,
Yeah.
I see all the cleanups they do and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
The one thing about inviting an organization to come and table, I believe Friday Fest charges for tables, if I'm not mistaken.
So we have been able to get the fee waived
Okay,
for the one table,
right.
because there's
So
been
if we
a
can-
volunteer action for the.
If we can bring them in as a guest of the city, what have you, then we
Mhm.
can probably get a freebie, you're saying.
Yeah, I wouldn't get crazy with it, like not too many, you know.
No,
but
but-
Right,
they've been-
right.
They've been
Yeah.
willing to
I
give us
mean,
a
And I would suggest we kind of, if we're gonna do this, we do one at a time, rather
Yes.
than, trying to bring half a dozen or whatever.
Next meeting, we bring our recommendation for who you're saying, who we.
For Friday Fest, yes, if you have any ideas.
Okay. Yeah, I got an idea.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we have a lot to do on that. We will discuss at the next meeting on our follow-ups.
Okay.
So then I will move on to committee member announcements. Any members have anything to announce
The
this
only thing
evening?
I could re-say is that the April 1st, the KBB Trash Bash is multiple locations in the city. I specifically am gonna be working in the North Thousand Islands out of the Lutheran Church.
Make sure you get your Trash Bash t-shirt.
I don't know
I've
if
seen-
they're gonna have t-shirts, and if they do, they may have to charge for them. In the past, they've given them away, but I
Mhm.
think the last couple of times they've started to charge for
So
t-shirts.
we only get 10 for free
Yeah.
with the sponsorship.
Wow.
So,
That's a
again-
hot item. All right, thank you. Public comment, there's no public present this evening, so then we are scheduled for April 5th at 6, no,
Can I
not,
bring up one thing you told me to remind you?
yes, me?
Scheduling the Freedom 7.
Oh, thank you, okay. Sorry, one last final item. Freedom 7 Elementary, their 6th grade exhibition program, they have come here for the past few years to present their projects in May
Sounds
at our
good.
May meeting. And so I have reached out to them to ask them if they would come again this year because their projects are based on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. They dovetail nicely with what our committee's goals are, and it's awesome to see what the kids in the community are doing. They do these active service projects for the Sustainable Development Goals. So they would like to come back. I would love to have them if the committee would also like to have them.
Sure.
We would like to schedule them for our May meeting.
Thumbs up.
So then I will tell them yes, and Kelsey, we can put them on the May
So
calendar.
that's May 3rd.
Yeah.
They're still
That's
at school then?
May 3rd, is that our meeting? Okay, I will reach out to them. I told them it was one of the early Wednesdays in May. So May 3rd, and then I will confirm that with them and get back to you on that. And thank you for reminding me, Kelsey, I appreciate it.
I got one picky thing that I missed on the meeting minutes.
Yes.
It's not my Locklear, it's Mr. Locklear and the April.
Oh, thank you.
That's a picky.
Which one? February 1st?
March 1st.
March 1st.
Third line, it says
Yes,
my
I see
Locklear
that.
rather than Mr.
Thank you.
Locklear.
He's all our Locklear. What do you mean?
Thank you.
All right, if we have nothing else,
We're good.
all right, then we'll see each other April 5th, and this meeting is adjourned.